right, we are back on MinneZona Sports Live. We have a special guest. You know, he's family. Yeah, I will say that. He's my cousin. Unfortunately, he did win Most Absurd Statement of 2022, saying that Mitch Trubisky is better than Kirk Cousins. It is a very unfortunate thing, Voldy. Very unfortunate thing. But we welcome him anyway. My cousin, Jason Schmitz. Thank you, Jason, for coming on the show. Thank you for braving it out, first of all.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you having you on. So let's just get right to it. I mean, Voldy, we might as well. What made you think? And this was on a MinneZona post, so I give you credit. You're watching, what we got and whatnot.
Of course.
Why do you think that Mitch Trubisky is better than one Kirk Cousins? Why? What are we doing here, bud?
Why?
Well, I will say that comment really came back to bite me in the butt later on. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
That's pretty fair. I'll give you guys that.
Okay.
I don't know what I was thinking. Perhaps I had too many adult beverages. I indulged maybe too much. I don't know. But I think it was just more of a hatred for Kirk Cousins, if I'm honest.
Okay. It's just the hatred of Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I mean, I can dive into it. I think Mitch Trubisky, man, second overall pick in the 2017 draft. So obviously the scouts may have agreed with me on that one in a previous time, perhaps.
In previous time.
He's got a 37-27 overall record in the NFL. So he's got a winning record. Not too bad. He technically has one playoff win. Okay, cool. So let's go to Kirk Cousins.
Sure.
So, fourth round pick. Not as good as second overall, right? 72-63 overall record. So about 10 games or so. Relatively the same there. Also technically has one playoff win for your Minnesota Vikings. But
that's good.
That technically counted as the Case Keenum Minneapolis Miracle, though, because I think he got hurt that game, right?
No, what happened
wasn't even on the team.
It wasn't even on the team.
For Minneapolis Miracle?
Yeah, Case Keenum. Yeah.
That was the Sam Bradford era, man.
Oh, that's right. That's Bradford. My stats on the internet, I guess Wikipedia is a bad source for
Wow.
Regardless, one playoff win for each of the respective players. But I think it comes down to it is Mitchell Trubisky is a MVP winner. And clearly Nickelodeon is a great source of information and holds higher standards than ESPN. So with that is my case.
That's your case. Well, let me say this. If we are talking about this here, and you probably will agree with me on this, though, right? Is that Kirk Cousins had a far better year than Mitch Trubisky because
Absolutely,
Mitch was
definitely agree with that until the playoffs.
Okay, I mean, they got to make the playoffs first. That's the name. I mean, if you're the Steelers,
I suppose yes.
But let me ask you this: with everything that's been going on, though, I mean, yes, Kirk Cousins' fourth round pick, right? He gets drafted by the Washington Redskins at the time. You also have a management group / owner / coaches / bad. I mean, just Washington is a mess, absolute mess, and we can agree on that, right? With Washington.
Yep.
And who does he beat out? A lot of injury issues is RG3. He comes out. They go. They win the division one year with Kirk Cousins. They go to the playoffs. They lose to Green Bay, right? And he comes to Minnesota hoping to be that final piece that we were waiting for. So far, Kirk's been doing his job, but here's the issue. This past year, defensively atrocious, absolutely atrocious. Yes. And you said too, I mean, you with before the show, we talked about Green Bay absolutely destroying Minnesota at Green Bay,
Yep.
But the one thing I'll add to that is they didn't do great offensively, sure. Defensively, not great all season. So, it's like you can cast blame you know, it's not always on Kirk. I feel like a lot of people always want to point the finger of why this team loses is because of Kirk. It's and we all know it's a team game, things like that. But I just don't see I just don't see it, man. With Kirk Cousins and Mitch Trubisky, the comparison I feel like outweighs. Yeah, I feel like Kirk is at a far more consistent career. Kirk's never been benched, I believe. So we got that going for us too. The MVP, okay, you can have the stupid Nickelodeon thing, fine.
It counts. It counts.
It counts. You can do the slime thing, whatever. It doesn't matter. All right, that's fine. But if you really want to deep dive into it, so far, the more complete career right now, you gotta look at Kirk Cousins, and that's how I look at it. I'm not saying Kirk's like the next Tom Brady, the next Rodgers, aka Frogers, as we call him here, but it is what it is. I mean, that's just kind of my spiel on it. But if you look at compare stats from year to year, I'll take Kirk 10 times out of 10. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I'm definitely in agreement with you on that. Like I said, I needed something to back up my comment. I can't come with
Yeah.
nothing.
You know, you just stick with the MVP thing. How about that?
It counts. It counts.
It counts.
No, I think it's just I've never been a Kirk Cousins fan, and
It's fine.
he hasn't really done anything for me to prove that he is that top tier quarterback. I mean, he's been with the Vikings how long? Was it 4 or 5 years?
I think we're approaching 5, aren't we?
This will be the 5th year.
Yeah.
And what has he done for the Minnesota Vikings to drastically improve that team? I know the defense has been an issue, but dude, he's playing with the second to best wide receiver in the NFL. Obviously, Cooperkupp's number 1, clearly.
That's another debate.
He's got a solid wide receiver 2, solid wide receiver 3, good tight end, good running back. I get the whole defense thing, but Kirk's the quarterback. The quarterback is the number 1 position on any football team. And if he can't get it done year after year, I don't know what you guys are doing. Like, let's take the playoff game, for example.
Sure.
Game on the line, 4th down, and you throw a 3-yard pass. Mitch Trubisky can do that. He'd probably throw it to the wrong team. But to be fair, at least we know he can complete that. Like, what are you guys doing? I don't understand the whole Kirk Cousins phenomenon, and obviously different perspective being Vikings fans.
Granted, they had a great defense. They had Khalil Mack. They had Akeem Hicks. I mean, Roquan Smith. They had a stellar defense. Not saying that, you know, Mitch didn't have anything to do, but his best season was that season. He was 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions or something like that, which is impressive. But you wanted to see growth from that time, right? But ever since that year, it's gone significantly down, which I will say. Yeah. But I'll defend Kirk on this one. The play call in that game was not the best play call. I mean, JJ's triple covered, right? Absolutely triple covered. And then Thielen, I think he was one-on-one on that play with whoever it was, but I mean, it wasn't a great route. The only option that Kirk really had, because the pass rush, I will say, it's not just defense, it's the interior O-line. And Voldy and I have gone back and forth on this too, is that interior is bad. You have a stud left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
You have the right tackle and O'Neal. So your sides are fine. It's the interior that has really been a problem ever since Kirk got here, I will say too. So I will defend him on that. Now, in that situation, I agree. You have to throw the ball past the Kirk to get the first down. That is the only thing. Yeah. Right. I agree. I agree with you on that. But when you got pressure coming in your face, and I mean, you really didn't have an option. You know, there are a lot of people that will rip Kirk for that. Fine. I mean, I get it. You got to throw the ball past the sticks. But I will say, I mean, it's tough when you have all those. I think it was Dexter Lawrence or something that came in on that play and almost just destroyed Kirk. But that's kind of how I'd answer that. But the phenomenon, I like Kirk in the fact that he doesn't listen to the outside noise. He goes out and plays. He's never been like injured to the point where he can't, he can't keep up with the. I mean, he's played almost every game, barring the COVID stuff, mind
Right.
you. So, I mean, Kirk's been consistent. I've always had respect for Kirk with that. The Kirk Go Chains bit, I mean, I loved it. I thought it was great, but at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Kirk's going to win us a Super Bowl because there's a lot more work to do. But like you said, they have the offense. They just need a little bit more from the defense / add some interior O-line. So that's how I'd answer that question for you. But Voldy, anything on that?
Well, I would just like to first address the elephant in the room, and anytime that we can get Case Keenum mentioned on the show, that's a fantastic start to any interview as well. You were partly there. You had the opponent and you had the situation. It was playoffs.
Yes.
It was against the Saints, but it was when Kirk called game with Rudy in the back of the end zone in New Orleans as well. That playoff victory for the Vikings with Kirk Cousins as quarterback. The big thing with Mitch Trubisky, and his name escapes me because of the fact he's so irrelevant nowadays. Can't even work his way up the depth chart with Pittsburgh nowadays as well. You go with him, or you have a guy who's probably still recovering from his head being caved in Mason Rudolph, or you've got Kenny Two Gloves and Kenny Pickett as well. Look, personally, I'm all in on Kenny Pickett right off the bat, but it's good to have an option. Very solid backup you could have in Mitch Trubisky. Number one guy, we'll see. Maybe I hear some XFL teams, or maybe even the USFL here this summer are looking for some potentials as well. So definitely a lot of capabilities with that. It worked early on in Chicago, I will say. A lot of flash in the pan, new coaching staff, new team. Really good defense as well. But then after that, Matt Nagy tried to become the next Andy Reid, I think, and just all steadily went downhill from there. And now Matt Nagy is now offensive coordinator again for Andy Reid as well. So we'll see if Mitch ever finds his way back to the starting spot as well. I don't know beyond that, but the fact that we can do everything that we can with Kirk Cousins, he can put up as many points in the games as he's want to. Throwing the ball, even getting a couple rushing scores as well. He can't play defense. That's the thing. Put up 30, 35 points a game. Can't play two ways. Doesn't work like that in the NFL. Unfortunately, not anymore as well. So the fact that people still rag on him as of late, I don't get it. I just don't get it. It's what else can the guy do besides walk on water at this point to get into the good graces of everybody? Even then, people still be like, it's fake news. It's not real. There's wires. It's all on it's all on a platform or whatever. It's not real. Thanks a lot, Kirk. But look, honestly, the comments, I didn't even remember what you even said too. The fact that I went into this whole conversation, didn't even know what you initially said. And I'm glad I get a blind reaction to it all over again with you saying that Mitch Trubisky is better than Kirk Cousins. I'm so flabbergasted at the moment. I can't even think straight. Completely irrelevant. Fake news.
Well, the thing is basically what it was is Jace put Kirk and then the greater than sign to Mitch Trubisky.
I remember it now.
You remember
I remember
that
it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. But that's that's our spiel. And I'm glad that you owned up to it. You thought, maybe
Absolutely.
I shouldn't have made that comment, but at the same time, I mean,
it was during the offseason, right? He just got traded to Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because he was backing up in Buffalo and thought, he could find himself on a team, be a starter again.
Yep.
And we talked about, I believe the video I was talking about how that wasn't a great idea, because if you have Pickett and then you have the guy that literally almost had his head taken off by Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph too, that just did. I felt like it didn't make sense, but
I still don't know how Mason Rudolph is still alive to this day. After that hellacious swing by the human tank that is Myles Garrett.
Yeah. No kidding. Well, anyway, since we took care of that, so we're moving on. We're all going to move on from that. But Knowing my cousin, we always have these football talks, especially when we meet up. But my cousin is a Rams fan. He's been a Rams fan pretty much all his life. He is not a Packer fan, so we appreciate that. And we rip on the Packers every time they, as I always send Jason a snap or, say, just we like it when the Packers lose and messing with Rodgers as well. The one thing I got to ask you is, how did you become a Rams fan? I know I believe we did briefly talk about this at your wedding, but it was a long time ago. I don't remember too much, but how did you become a Rams fan? Just to, give people a better perspective.
It's quite simplistic. I liked the animal as a kid. So I found out there was a team and I'm like, that's legit. That's awesome. So ever since, the rest is history. And luckily when I started watching them, it was the early days of the greatest show on turf. So right as I was starting to get into Rams football, they won a Super Bowl. I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. Yeah. So ever since then, I stuck with them through, the bad times, the good times, and everything. The poor St. Louis days, and then just 2 years ago, winning another Super Bowl. That was pretty much one of the greatest moments of my life. So always a fan, and hopefully always will be here. This team's going to be interesting coming into next season.
Right.
Like that team's in shambles at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about problems with like Vikings, let alone LA. It's just a mess. But yeah, ever since I was a little kid, kind of just stuck with me.
Yeah, it really did. And, I especially all the memorabilia that you have too. It's like, the greatest show on turf. Yep. Literally, there's a Marshall-Faulk. You're still a big Marshall-Faulk guy.
Still have it. Still have that same.
Still have it. Yep. I remember in the basement there. And especially, with the Kurt Warner days, Torryholt, Isaacbruce. Jeez, that was a team, man. That was a lot of fun to watch them. Another Ricky Prohl. We just talked about him last week. He has like two sons. One's in the NFL, one's in the XFL for the St. Louis Battlehawks.
Yep.
Speaking of which, we're official Battlehawks fans with the XFL since the Battlehawks have officially. The Kaw is the law. So let me ask you, since unfortunately you have the Rams go to LA. But they were from St. Louis. Is that your team now with XFL? With the
you know what? It is. I'm jumping on the bandwagon.
Let's go.
There we go.
Because I also like ajmccarron.
Yeah.
I've actually really liked ajmccarron in the past. And I'm like, wait a minute. I was watching the first game. I'm like, is that ajmccarron?
Yeah.
Sure is. So yeah, I'm jumping on the bandwagon with you.
Love it.
This is crazy. We have like now this cult of Battlehawks fans, which is just amazing now. But they did. We're trying to get free tickets, and obviously like that. So we'll try to get that and head down to St. Louis. But
totally.
The last thing I'll ask, then I'm going to send it over to Voldy for some rapid fire.
Yeah.
We talk about this a lot. You live in Green Bay. The amount of crap that you probably get for not being a Packers fan, being born in Wisconsin and whatnot. Just how are these fans like? From I live in Minnesota. I know Packers fan, I just from what you tell me and whatnot with these fans. Just how insufferable are some of these fans in Wisconsin? Please tell us.
It is almost indescribable at times, and that's not an exaggeration. Green Bay Packers football, to their credit, is life. I personally don't get it. When I want to go to a football game, I don't want to pay $120 to sit in bleachers like I'm at a high school game, but that's just me. But
just a dump.
It is just an absolute different breed. I give them credit for being dedicated sports fans, but like these people, man, if they lose a game the next week for them, they are all depressed. Like you don't even want to talk to them. It's absolutely insane.
Fire LaFleur, all that.
Yeah, it's like they're bipolar at times, man. Like they'll have a good stretch of the season, like the tail end of the season this past season, everyone was getting rowdy for a playoff push and we're gonna win the Super Bowl. That's what they were doing. And because they
God.
beat your Vikings, because Kirk Cousins can't win in Lambeau, that was a possibility for him until my former boy, Jared Goff, shut down that.
Yeah.
So they're just a different breed. 2 seasons ago, the Rams Super Bowl year, I was at Lambeau during that Rams game when they lost.
Yeah.
I had some guy talking trash to me. He was like, "Hey man, Rams are terrible, whatever it was." I said, "Yeah, why don't you talk to me when the Packers actually win a playoff game?" And he got all frustrated with that.
Boo.
Exactly. And he got all upset with me and started swearing at me. I wish I got that dude's number so I can text him after the Super Bowl when the Rams won that year. See how he's doing. But I'll tell you what, man, I do give him credit where credit's due for being dedicated fans, but they are absolutely nuts.
Competence too with a lot of these fans, especially for some of our zoners, aka Coom, aka Mets, but that's a whole different story. We'll get to that at a later time. So we do have some Packer fans that tune into the show, and obviously
I'm sorry that I probably offended them.
No, it is like we say, we get back at them all the time, so it's totally fine with us. But yeah, that's just how I'm glad I don't live in Wisconsin, seeing all that green and gold, especially when I'm going to visit or things like that. I'm always like, oh, I just can't get all that just disgusting crap. I mean, we went to a Rams Packers game at Lambeau, which was a really cool. I will say it was a really cool experience. Don't get me wrong, but I was a Rams fan that day. Let's be honest.
Of course.
But I didn't wear any NFL. I didn't wear any Vikings stuff because obviously I would probably be attacked or something like that. But yeah, they're freaking nuts. I mean, it's just how it is. So, but anyway, I'm going to send it over to Voldy for some rapid fire.
So at least for a little bit, I had a little bit of maybe some help mentally when coming up some rapid fire questions for our Rams fan here, because I've got a coworker that is a Rams fan as well, and I don't know why he is, but he just is. So a lot of these questions going to be geared towards your Rams fandom, if you will, your Rams ramdom, if you will, here with some rapid fire. So preference, St. Louis or the LA Rams?
LA, man, a bigger market, cooler market. St. Louis was dying at them, man. At the tail end of there, people weren't showing up to games. I mean, they still aren't in LA, let's be fair. However, that big market attracts big names, and those big names win us championships.
This is very, very true. Maybe already have an answer to this question, but I'm going to freestyle a little bit. You get one running back. Who do you choose? Do you choose Marshall-Faulk, Steven Jackson, or prime Todd-Gurley?
That's a tough one. I'm going to go with Marshall-Faulk, though. That dude can do it all.
Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. Marshall-Faulk. Steven Jackson, I mean, that dude was a beast all on his own.
You loved Steven Jackson.
I did. It's a tough question. I love all three of them, if I'm honest, but pretty much Marshall.
Steven Jackson, former Patriot too, by the way. Just quick shout out to that as well. Better wide receiver duo, Isaacbruce, Torryholt, or Cooperkupp and OBJ?
I gotta go with Bruce and Holt, man. It's the greatest show on turf.
Yeah,
those guys did it for how many years? I mean, you saw Beckham and Kupp do it for just a little bit of time there in the regular season. In the playoffs, they did awesome, but no, I gotta go long term.
Who do you think would be the better complementary piece to Cooperkupp nowadays?
Definitely not Allen Robinson. I wanted OBJ back, and I still honestly think if he came back to the team, I think that would help out immensely.
Yeah, I'm sure it certainly would, especially after the year that they had this year.
Yeah.
Better overall body of work for the LA Rams when they were in the Coliseum or at SoFi?
Coliseum's got that history, but I got to go with SoFi. That thing's amazing. There's no place like it.
I'm assuming you've been to SoFi already?
I wish I could say yes, but it was supposed to be this past year, but then we had our child. So I think we'll try to make the journey, hopefully this upcoming season, if not in a couple of years or so.
All right. worst Rams uniform when they initially came back to LA and they're playing in the Coliseum, or those current bone color uniforms that they have?
Dude, I don't know what they were doing when they came back. They had like a white helmet, like a golden and white or golden blue jersey, white pants. It made no sense in terms of a color scheme.
Mhm.
I'll take the bone.
Yeah,
I like those, but
Mhm.
their first colors when they came back to LA absolutely made no sense.
They just didn't even really try this. Like, oh, let's go throwback helmet and just the new the away Rams uniforms. That's our new home uniform, I guess. They just didn't
Correct.
even try. They just didn't try
Right.
all that much. This one may be a tough one. Dickvermeil or McVay?
Oh man. That's like splitting hairs right there. Both great coaches. I want to say probably Dickvermeil, and the only reason I'm going with that is because McVay, I don't know what his deal is with teetering of retirement already.
Yeah.
He's like 35 or something like that. Dickvermeil, he was just an old school kind of guy, and I can appreciate that. So I'll probably go with him on that one.
Dickvermeil looks like some days he looks like he still wants to coach a little bit.
Yeah.
For sure.
He's talking about retirement, and he's not even 40
could.
yet. He probably could. Last one. Record for the LA Rams in 2023.
I want to say optimistic, man. I just don't know. I would put probably a solid 10-7 on there.
All right. They win the
Respectable.
division this year?
No, I think 49ers unfortunately have that for the next couple years at least, but hopefully we'll just get by with a winning record and maybe a wild card appearance. Who knows?
All right. That's all I got for rapid fire.
Well, just to add on to that too, with the extra wild card spot, I think that's definitely possible.
Yep.
I mean, question is, what do you do with good old Mattstafford? That's the one question you have. And then, like, I mean, what do you do with that? Then you have not only you mentioned with McVay, but Aarondonald, like, he's going to, and then he's like, maybe I'm not going to retire. Like, it's just like, what is going on? I mean, I mean, the state of the Rams right now. I mean, how are you looking at this right now, Jason?
It's a mess. I mean, you got Stafford who can't stay healthy, and he's taking up a huge part of the cap. You got Donald wavering on retirement, which is understandable. The dude's done it all. Like I don't blame him for a second.
Right.
You got a coach who may or may not want to coach the team next year. We'll just see how that goes. You have Jalenramsey, who is on the verge of getting traded. You have Bobby Wagner that just got released. Like, you don't have any draft picks. You don't have any cap. So I don't know. It's a clear kind of rebuild quasi. We still have enough talent to compete. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. And especially, gosh, I can't believe it's already March on Wednesday, but with free agency coming up, a lot of trades that I think are going to happen. I don't know if like we've said, I don't think the Rams will be trading with the Bears, because apparently the Bears want to possibly trade that first pick. I mean, you'd have to give up an arm and a leg to get off the first spot, or, if you're the Rams, unless you want to give out, give them Stafford or something like that, or, escape that cap hit. But
go with Baker, man. Baker Mayfield still.
That's right. That's a good point.
God, that's right.
I almost forgot about that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad you brought that up, because Baker. I mean, McVay, I think, has done a really good job with Baker, especially after that Las Vegas game. But Las Vegas is kind of a mess too. So, it is what it is. But I got to give credit where credit's due. He literally got there, was it 2-3 days before or something like that, and plays in the Thursday night game and wins.
Let's go out and ball.
I got to give him credit. I really have to give him credit for that. So, I mean,
by far, best moment of last season was that game. Meaningless game, but for sure, best game of the year last year.
Yeah.
Out of a bad season.
Yep.
Yep. You got that going. So, but anyway, that'll do it, I think, with our interview here. So, Jason, thanks for coming on. My guy, my cousin. We can forgive you a little bit with the Trubisky thing, but just a titch. But what we can appreciate is the MinneZona sweatshirt that you got there. Oh, I mean, you wear that a lot? You wear that a lot?
I actually do. Between that and the other t-shirt that I got,
Nice.
Good high quality stuff you guys got here.
You know it. Hey, 5 out of 5 stars too. So
Hell
we
yeah.
got more. We got more stuff if you want it. So
Love it.
we'll be talking and whatnot. So we appreciate your time, and yeah, we'll be talking to you soon, my guy.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys both for having me on.